Well, welcome back. Many Americans out of cash are turning to their homes and properties to refinance, but it comes with an even bigger price. Mortgage data and technology firm Black Knight says that 60% of cash-out refinancing last year ended up with higher interest rates. Let's bring in SitusAMC Managing Director and former Fannie Mae executive, Tim Rood. Tim,
Sure.
Good morning. And I think this has always been kind of a dangerous road to hoe for homeowners, but we're seeing it really start to come back and bite them. Why?
Hi, Cheryl. Happy New Year. Well, here's look, I was at Fannie Mae in 2006 as an executive, so I still have a little PTSD. I looked at this data and started kind of hearkening it back to 2007, and I will admit that my upper lip did sweat a little bit. But before you reach out and call your realtor and go into gold, I want to give you a little bit of grounding perspective before the panic sets in. One, yes, refinances were up substantially in 2019, and yeah, predominantly the refinances were cash out. Some of the things that put me back to sleep at night were, one, right now you've got $16 trillion worth of net equity in residential real estate. That just means if you took the aggregate value and the aggregate mortgages, you've got $16 trillion, which is a big number. It's about $3 trillion more than 2006, 2007. Even better is you've got about $6.2 trillion worth of tappable equity. That means if everybody went out for whatever reason, 45 million Americans took out a mortgage to the maximum they could take cash out, they'd still have $120,000, $140,000 apiece in equity. So comforting. Last thing I'll say is, leading up to the crisis, cash out was $300, $400 billion a year, 2005, 2006, 2007. That was scary enough. Right now, it's only about 30 to 100 billion. And the last thing I'll say is, don't forget, the underpinning of the housing market before was mortgages that were written on lies, speculation, and fraud. This book of business that's underlying this mortgage recovery is the most strictest, purest underwriting and the most heavily documented in my generation.
I guess you're going to go ahead and tell me you've got a rosy outlook for 2020. Take the sweat off your brow. But obviously you're telling me, from what I can hear from you, that you think that it's going to be strong in 2020, the housing market, because some pockets, and obviously real estate's local, some pockets of the country have seen weakness, and frankly the Northeast is one of those areas.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I broke kind of the new market, 2020 market, down into kind of four pieces. You've got the existing home market, which is starving for inventory. It's going to be starving even more for inventory in 2020. So that's going to go down. And you've got all of these millennials that are now crowding the market. You've got about 5 million, I guess, that are hitting 30. So they're coming online. They're scattered households. They're looking to buy. It crowds out that entry-level market, which is going to put upward pressure. But all that upward pressure and the lack of velocity means that the mid-market and the higher markets are soft, because if you can't really move up, if you didn't get into an entry-level home. The good news is that builders seem to be far more optimistic. Confidence levels at 20-year highs. They've started breaking ground at 12-year highs. They've figured out how to crack into the entry-level market. The downside is that they're going to have to figure out how to build about 3 times as much properties as they have been doing to date, and it's going to take a while to really wind that up. Last thing I would say is that you're seeing really a mass exodus from these expensive coastal cities. Think about New York, think about LA, San Francisco, Seattle, and the builders are following suit, and they're moving with the buyers inland and going to these tertiary markets, building properties that are adjacent to centers, like, instead of Nashville, you build in Memphis. Instead of Denver, you build in Colorado Springs. Instead of, well, you get the gist. But yeah, I think
you know why I get the gist, Tim? Because I've got one of those people on set with me right now. No, she did. She did the same exact. We were just talking about this earlier this morning about your move to a lower tax.
I never thought I would live in Reno. It's amazing. I mean, I was on the California side of the Nevada-California border, and we built the house for airport proximity, and then Trump changed the tax laws. But Reno, I guess, is one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S. right now. The cost of living is still very low, and our house has gone up quite a bit. They have an inventory issue, so yes, it's happening. And isn't California going to lose a seat for a rep because their population is going down so drastically? So.
That's right, Tom, isn't that true?
Well, and meanwhile, I'm from Illinois, and we've got a mass exodus going on. It's pushing real estate values down as the population leaves and the tax base leaves, and sort of we're in a vicious spiral.
I've done so many stories, guys, about everyone leaving New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and they're going to Texas and Florida, and it turns out Nevada. Tim Rood, I like all the positivity in real estate.
Yeah, no, actually, it sounded like an Adam Sandler movie. Like, I never thought I'd live in Reno.
Oh, that was
coming
good.
soon on Netflix.
Good, yeah, that's his next movie. Tim, thank you. Happy New Year.
Sure. Happy New Year.